Today we're going to talk about a case that is a gut-wrenching reminder of how an ordinary, everyday moment can shatter into an absolute nightmare. This is the story of Ebony Simpson and the short walk home she never got to finish.
400 meters. That's it. Think about that for a second. It's the length of a running track, a walk that should have taken just a couple of minutes. But on one quiet afternoon back in 1992, that simple journey was stolen from a little girl in the most brutal way imaginable.
These stories, they're just so important to remember, to honor the lives that were lost. If you agree and you believe in the power of that memory, please take a moment to join our community and subscribe. It would mean a lot to have you with us. To really understand the depth of this tragedy, you first have to picture the world Ebony lived in. A world that felt safe, felt protected. A place where something like this was just unthinkable.
So we're in Bargo, New South Wales. At the time, it was a really small town, only about 4,500 people. It's the kind of place where everybody pretty much knows everybody. It's quiet, it's surrounded by bushland, and it has that real close-knit community feel. You know, the kind of place you'd think your kids would be perfectly safe.
And living right in the heart of that community was 9-year-old Ebony Simpson. Her family called her Bonnie. She was just this warm, cheerful kid who loved playing netball, adored her family, and dreamed that one day she'd become a police officer so she could help people.
You know, it's always the smallest changes in a routine that can lead to tragedy. On August 19th, 1992, Ebony's brother, who usually walked with her, was running late. Her mom, Christine, was also delayed by just a few minutes. So at 3:10 p.m., Ebony gets off the bus by herself. Just 20 minutes later, her mom pulls up to the bus stop and she's not there. The panic set in immediately, and by 4:30 p.m., Ebony was officially a missing person.
What happened next was just a testament to the people of Bargo. The town didn't just sit and wait, it exploded into action, totally gripped by this collective fear that one of their own was in terrible, terrible danger. The search was just massive. I mean, hundreds of people. Neighbors, friends, total strangers. They dropped everything. They combed through a 5-kilometer radius of dense bush, creeks, even old mine shafts. But the police knew, pretty much right away, this wasn't a case of a little girl who had wandered off. All the signs were pointing to something far more sinister: an abduction. And pretty soon, the first real clues started to surface. A crucial witness came forward. They'd seen a suspicious-looking guy standing next to a dirty white or cream-colored car right on the road Ebony walked down. And the hood was up, that classic, terrifying lure. The description was specific, and even more disturbing. People had seen a similar car just hanging around local schools. That gave police their first real lead, a composite sketch of the man. And this is where that small-town, close-knit community became so vital. The sketch went public and tips just started flooding in. But they weren't pointing to some stranger passing through town. They were pointing to someone local. Someone who was hiding in plain sight. The name that just kept coming up again and again was Andrew Peter Garforth. He was 29 years old, unemployed, a father of 2. He lived right there in the area, just a seemingly ordinary neighbor who, it turns out, had a criminal past he'd managed to keep hidden from everyone. When police brought Garforth in for questioning, they were probably expecting denials, a long, drawn-out interrogation. What they got was something so much more chilling. They got the truth, told with absolutely no emotion, no regret, no humanity. He just calmly laid out the whole thing. He said he used his car, a yellow Mazda, pretending it had broken down to set the trap. When Ebony walked past, he grabbed her. He blasted the car radio to drown out her screams. He then drove her to a remote dam where he did the most unspeakable things to her and then threw her bound into the water. He even used her own school bag, filling it with rocks to make sure her body would sink. The official police reports described him as having, quote, chilling detachment and zero remorse. He talked about it like he was just describing his workday. And what makes it even more monstrous is that Garforth had actually joined the search party, pretending to help look for the little girl he knew he had already murdered. Following his cold-blooded directions, on August 21st, just 2 days after she disappeared, the police found Ebony's body. The frantic search was over, and the last glimmer of hope for the entire town was gone. So the crime was solved, the killer was caught. But this story, it's far from over. Because in the face of just absolute devastation, the Simpson family chose not to be defined by what they lost, but by how they fought back. Andrew Garforth pleaded guilty, which meant he avoided a full public trial. The court gave him the highest sentence possible in Australia, life in prison, with the judge declaring he should never, ever be released. For his crime, he would never walk free again.
But the real story here extends so far beyond the crime. I mean, look at this. On one side, you have this unimaginable grief, a shattered community, a life stolen. But then, look at the family's response. Out of that darkness, they founded the Homicide Victim Support Group. They established Ebony House, a safe place for families going through the same hell they did. They became these fierce, tireless fighters for victims' rights.
And through all of this, their grief was just a constant. Her father, Peter, once said something that just breaks your heart. He said, "Living without Ebony is like living without the sun." And yet, somehow, they found a way to create light for other people.
You know, when I look back at this case, it's so easy to just get lost in the darkness of it all, the pure evil of the crime. But for me, the most powerful part of this story isn't just about what happened to Ebony. It really leaves you with this one profound question. How? How does a family, when they're faced with the absolute worst that humanity has to offer, find the strength to build something so positive? Andrew Garforth represents this black hole of a person. No empathy, no remorse. But the Simpsons, they represent the exact opposite. They took the most unimaginable pain a person can feel and transformed it into a legacy of support, of love, and of advocacy that has helped countless other families. And that, for me, is the unforgettable heart of this story. I would be truly honored to read your thoughts on Ebony's story and her family's incredible legacy down in the comments. If you believe these stories need to be told and these legacies